Hi, thanks for joining me. It's Margaret Johnson, Canadian Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I'm going to share with you a background that I created. I saw something similar on a card and I didn't have time to figure out if there was any videos for it, so I just decided to do my own thing and make my own. So hopefully you enjoy this. It's kind of similar to the creating of a bokeh background, which I've done before, but with some differences to it. So this is going to be our finished card with the sentiment, God wanted to brighten up the world, so he made you on the inside. This is from the stamp set Flourishing Phrases. So let's get started. So the first few things we've got here are our cardstock pieces. Let me get this out of the way if my fingers will work. Okay, so I am using Elegant Eggplant for the background. I'm using a thick white cardstock for my card front and just our regular Whisper White cardstock for the inside of the card. So let's get rolling on the actual card front because this one will need some time to dry as well. So I'm using three different ink pads for the background, as well as Versamark. So I've got Island Indigo, Elegant Eggplant, Soft Suede, and we will be using Versamark along with copper embossing powder. So let's get rolling. So we've got our sponges all set up and ready to go as well. So let's do this. So I'm just doing little splotches all over. You can go as light or as dark as you want. Leave spaces in between for your other colors. So I'm not going to close that up just yet because I may want to come back and add a little bit more color in. We'll get the Elegant Eggplant going. Whoop. Get a little more color on there. Maybe some there. Again, I'm not going to close that up. Soft Suede. Oop. It looks kind of messy now, but once it's all done, it's not going to look so blah. If that's the right word for it. If blah is considered a word. Okay, so it doesn't matter too much if there's little white spots. It's really not going to affect anything. So maybe put some brown up there. This is really just random mishmash. I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to get these closed up and out of the way. Because when I use embossing powder, I really don't want that to get in my ink pads, the embossing powder. So I'm just going to slide a piece of paper underneath this. So I have a sponge as well for my embossing, my Versamark, and I'm just going to do random little spots all around. I don't want to do too much, but I don't want to do too little either. Okay, grab our copper embossing powder. Maybe grab the corner of that. Slish that all over. And really normally before I do this, I use my embossing buddy so the ink's not sticking to all the other ink on there already. That's not too bad. It's blotchy in some areas, which is fine. And I literally just made a mess. Okay. Way bigger mess than I wanted to make. Just going to get as much as I can back in my, so I just funneled it. Okay, we'll get that piece of paper out of our way. I literally got it all over my desk here. Awesome. Okay, I'll worry about that later. It's one thing I love embossing, but I hate the mess it can make. Okay, so we're gonna take our heat gun. It's going to make a bit of noise, so you're probably not going to hear me very well, so bear with me, but we're going to heat set this. So you're going to see it go from a dry powder looking form to a nice embossed looking shine to it. So I'll try and do this so that you can see. Don't hold it in one spot too long because it will end up burning it. So you can start seeing it change to a nice shine. Don't hold it too close to your paper and don't move it around too much. I know some people go like this, but that takes forever. So just hold it in one spot, and as you see it change, that's where you just slowly start moving the gun. You see that changing? Don't get too close to your fingers or you're going to burn yourself, so just switch that around. Okay, and that's done. So that's the easy part. So now what we're going to do is we're going to dry emboss this using the Hexagon dynamic embossing folder. So the first time I did this, I thought that if I had the words up and slid my paper in with the ink side up, that it would do it the right way for me and I'd get the nice creases on the top side. Unfortunately, I learned that that was wrong because I really want these little, I don't know if you could see that, the outside edges, I want them facing up. I mean, this is probably right as well, but for what I'm doing, I want it the other way. So that means that when I put it in my embossing folder, I'm going to put it with my ink side up, where it just has the tiny little Stampin' Up! Made in China lettering on that side. But first we're gonna just take a little spritzer with water in it, just plain water. I just got this at a local art store. I do this on the back side, so I'm just gonna wet that. Try not to soak my papers. Okay, so slide this in. And we're going to put this through the Big Shot. I'll see if I can get that up here without bumping everything. Okay, so we have it just on our base platform. There's no extra layers to it. Then because this is such a thick embossing folder, we're going to lay this right on top of our platform and one cutting pad on top. Hold on, sorry. Just bump my tripod. There we go. All right. So we get the Big Shot out of the way. Okay. So I don't have any ink on my embossing folder, so the only thing I can gather, because this happens every time I do this, you'll see that there's some red. So the only thing I can think is it's the color mixing through with the water. It's kind of bleeding and making some red show up. Because like I said, I've got no ink on this embossing folder and it only does it on the one side. So now all my little ridges are at the top, but the paper is wet. So we're just going to set this aside for the moment before we go on to the next step with this piece. So now, bear with me one sec because this is going to drive me crazy. I'm just trying to get some of this embossing powder off my work area. All right, like I said, love-hate relationship. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. This is my inside piece. I'm going to take my Island Indigo, and as I mentioned earlier, we are using Flourishing Phrases. So there's so many images in the set that they need 2 cases. It has just a couple designs, and then it has lots of great sayings for a variety of different occasions. So we're going to grab the So He Made You. Now, this is what I always do. Oh, still dirty. Okay. I always take it, because I don't put the sticker on, it drives me crazy having the sticker on. I just do a test to see if I'm somewhat lined up before I actually go ahead and stamp. Not too bad, not perfect, but I can't see right over because my camera's in the way. So we're just going to set that aside. If you don't like it, flip her over, do the other side. So maybe we'll do that. So oh, I think that's a little bit better. So let's set that aside. And now we'll do our, oh, I need that open still, our outside piece. So just a scrap piece of paper and our sentiment. God wanted to brighten up the world, so he made you. So put that right there. So it doesn't matter if that's straight or not because we are going to be die cutting that as well. So grab the Big Shot again. This time we have the magnetic platform in there. I really gotta watch I don't hit my tripod. Okay. For this one, we're going to be using the stitch shapes. So you've got squares, ovals, and circles. And these are great because you can see this. They have the little stitched line here and then they have the cut line. So we're going to put our cardstock in. Magnetic platform's going to hold this in place for me. Get it lined up where I want it. And then put our other cutting pad on top. We're going to roll that through. It's fine that it makes that sound, that little clunk. It's not going to hurt anything. And I'm going to have to move my Big Shot out to get my piece out. All right. So that is what we're left with after we die cut with that. Now that always faces down, so you never want to have that line facing up when you're die cutting. It's always down, so the smooth surface is up because that's what's cutting. So you want to be able to cut through your cardstock, otherwise it's going to embed itself into your cutting pad, which you really don't want. Okay, so that's done with the Island Indigo ink again. So let's get this out of our way and have a look. It's not too bad, it's not too wet, a little bit. We're going to go ahead and, you know what, I'm going to give that one more second. I'm going to take my card base. I've already scored it. So I'm going to fold it in half and I'm going to grab my inside piece and attach that. All right, so I made it 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, so it leaves a 1/8 mat all the way around. So just use your snail adhesive for that. Now we can set that aside. So with this one now, what we're going to do with all these ridges facing up, I've taken my smoky slate and my sponge, which you can see I always punch out a little piece of cardstock, staple it to the top. This is a great grip for me to prevent my hands from getting all inked up. And I also write the name on it, just in case some colors are similar. It's hard to tell which one's which sometimes. So just lightly rub. You don't want to press too hard because if you do, you're going to end up coloring down in the dips. And really all I'm looking to do is catch the tops of the ridges. So you should be able to see them kind of pop out more. You can't really see these ones, but you can see these ones. So as I come across this now, you're going to see those stand out more. See the difference? So just lightly rubbing. Catch the tops of the honeycombs, hexagons, whatever you want to call them. Until you're happy with it. You can really use whatever color you want. Depends on how much you want to make it pop. But I find the smoky slate does just enough to make that really show. So that's that part of the card. So we're going to take our linen thread now. And we're going to attach our linen thread around. So we're going to wrap this a few times. And I like to go like, whoop. I like to go like 3 times. Technically it's wrapped around twice, but by the time you pull it around for that third and tie it. So I'm going to tie it over at this end. Really doesn't matter, it's up to you. And I find linen thread can be a little bit tricky to keep tight. But we're going to do our best. And it does not help that I have nails because that is sliding behind my nails. Okay. Slide that back out. Get a nice little bow going. Maybe a little longer tail, so make that bow a little smaller. Okay. If you want that bow to, or that thread to curl down, get your scissors closed and just curl it as much as you can. So I'm going to try and curl that one down a bit too. Just remember to actually hold where your bow's already done, otherwise it's going to come undone on you. Okay, it's not perfect. It's got a little couple squirrelies in there, but that's your bow. Now, if you want to shift it over into a different position, what I like to do, because I have mine on the other side, I'm going to curl my cardstock so that's loose, the tension's off, and then you can slide it. That's why I'm not too worried when I do my bow of where my positioning is, because I can always move it later. So I've got that slid over. So let me just see, that's going to fit nicely over there. And I'm going to use pop dots on that. Now, when I go to attach this, because it's now embossed, I find that just using snail adhesive can sometimes let off. So a stronger adhesive to use would be the tear and tape. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to just, this stuff's great. The old sticky strip, I love the old sticky strip, but you couldn't tear it with your hands. This stuff, you can easily tear with your hands, but my goodness is it strong. The only thing again is if you have nails, it is hard to peel those edges up. And the nice thing is now it's over this linen thread, it's going to hold it in place. It's not going to go anywhere. So now here comes the trick. It's peeling those off. So far, they're behaving. Now that I've said that, one of them won't. Whoop. There we go, not too bad. Okay, grab our card front. And I like to line up 3 edges for my mat because I know I've cut it equal. So if 3 edges look like they have the same mat, the 4th edge should automatically have the same mat as well. And I'm going to spread that out a little bit so it takes the slack off that linen thread. There we go. And your card's done, inside and out. So great just effect for the background to create some fun backgrounds. A little bit of sponging, a little bit of embossing, heat embossing, a little bit of dry embossing. Stamp your inside and your card is ready to go. So hopefully you found that easy enough to duplicate and do your own designs. Use any color combination you want, see how it turns out. Use different color embossing powders, whether it's gold or silver or even white if you're using a darker cardstock, who knows, but try it out, have fun, play, and enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.